This is Frankie Lynch, astrological consultant. FrankieLynch.com, at Frankie Astro on TikTok and Facebook, at Frankie Lynch 777 on YouTube and Twitter. Please like and subscribe. Smash that like that smash. Please, please, please. I need your help. So anyway, I wanted to take my first stab at a horoscope video today. We have some sort of big transits going on. I'm going to focus on just a couple of them, right? So Jupiter, number one, went retrograde back into Pisces, and he went direct, I think, around November 23rd, around Thanksgiving. And then around December 20th, he's going to go into Aries, right? So when Jupiter goes retrograde back into a sign, well, especially his home sign, right? He's got unfinished business in that house for you. That whole sign house that sign occupies for you. Excuse me. Sometimes we see things get revealed, something that was hidden from you. It could be a deception, or it could be something a bit nicer. We could have some unexpected good fortune that happens in that house. Yeah. And then going into Aries is going to be a reignition for all of us in whatever house that is. Okay. And of course, Mars is retrograde, in Gemini, and has been retrograde since around Halloween. Yeah. He won't go direct until like mid-January, I guess the 13th. But Mars retrograde can feel really sort of stifling. I mean, on the one hand, it's more aggressive. On the other hand, it's bottled up, which those are bad recipes anyway. I have Mars in Gemini. We're terrible arguers. We're quick with the quips. So watch out with Mars retrograde in Gemini that we don't say the things that we're going to regret later. Sometimes we have to be direct, though, and we can do this passive-aggressive, silly, nonsense. But we'll get into that, of course. And the eclipses have been oscillating between Taurus and Scorpio for a while now. And starting next year, they're going to go into Aries and Libra. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch. And of course, that eclipse will happen right after Saturn goes into Pisces. The interesting thing about the eclipse is whatever house Jupiter is going in for you, that will be where that eclipse is in April. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So, excuse me, if you're Aries rising, Jupiter went back into your 12th house, right? Maybe perhaps you had been addressing some mental health issues or therapy issues before, and you make some advancement, or there was some unfinished business, of course, that you're resolving. Perhaps you've made some healthy changes, in your lifestyle, or you felt this need to withdraw from life and be contemplative. Once Jupiter goes into your first house, Aries, you'll probably feel a surge, right? You'll feel more confident. You'll feel like the boss bee, right? And Jupiter will be going there for a little while. So take advantage of this time. Mars has been going retrograde in your third house, which is typically quarrels with siblings, right? But Mars, the third house is also our commutes, our immediate community. So be careful with driving, okay? Make sure to take your time, right? Don't push your luck on the road, okay? And then the eclipses have been oscillating between your second and eighth house, right? Until recently. So your finances had been put on focus, right? Perhaps you had big beginnings and endings. You saw money flow in and flow out. Hopefully, this is a bit better once the eclipses go into your first and seventh house. Again, I see the Jupiter eclipse as being beneficial, right? We talked about confidence moving forward. So this may be a new beginning with your experience of yourself and how you identify. So take advantage of this. Now, Taurus rising. Oops, too far. Taurus rising. So, excuse me, Jupiter went retrograde back into the 11th house. Yeah. So maybe there was some unfinished business in your social life. Maybe you need to get out a bit more again. You probably started to withdraw once Jupiter went into Aries. Yeah. And now with Jupiter direct in your 11th house, perhaps use this time to be more social and to enjoy yourself, because you're going to go back into your cocoon to figure out whatever you started figuring out before. Which is interesting because the eclipses have been going between your 1st and 7th house, right? So the focus has been on you and your sense of identity. Yes. So it doesn't surprise me that you were contemplating the big questions. Then, right, we're going to go from the focus on you to the 12th and 6th house, which is, your body and mental state. So then putting these lessons into application and getting your house under control. Yeah. Mars retrograde in the 2nd house burns a hole in your pocket. So watch the spending money, please, 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 please. Excuse me. And now let's go to Gemini rising. So Gemini rising, Jupiter went a retrograde back into your 10th house. Yeah. So hopefully you're going to get a little bit of recognition during this time, perhaps a little bit of good press, Gemini. Perhaps people see what you do well, you apply for a promotion, or who knows. Okay. But then Jupiter will go into your 11th house, which will push you to be more social. Perhaps you start getting out more, or you get good press through friends, good word of mouth, perhaps you get business through friends. Yeah. I also see this social media and advertising and, being on the, being in front of an audience. So, getting luck perhaps from, if you're a content creator, from your audience. Okay. And then having Mars retrograde in your 1st house can feel quite antagonistic, right? It can be quite frustrating. Perhaps you you may feel low energy right now. And Mars is frustrating retrograde. I would also watch moving too fast. I talked about car accidents with the 3rd house, but with the 1st house, watch any sort of little accident. Mars rules, abrupt things. So watch cuts, watch scrapes, watch, banging your things. Take your time with stuff. Okay. And the eclipses, right, we're going between your 12th and 6th house. Right? And then we're going to be moving to your 11th and 5th house. This should feel a lot less depressing. Yeah. You should be seeing some big beginnings and endings with your social situation and your children. Right? So I imagine following this eclipse from, say, April to maybe October, the fall of next year, you'll probably see your social life pick up quite a bit. You'll want to get out more. You'll want to connect with people. Okay, so now Cancer rising. Jupiter went retrograde back into the 9th house, so maybe you're finishing up school. Maybe you're taking a new sort of solemn vow. Maybe you're embarking upon a new religious journey or spiritual journey. Maybe you're getting more interested in arcane subjects. Maybe you decide to take a long journey or a trip, right? But usually I see it with the school and the spiritual stuff. The 9th house is also astrology. And then Jupiter will go into your 10th house of recognition and honors and life direction, of course. So you can see maybe these new values of yours have been influencing your life direction or motivate your life to take a new direction. Again, maybe this is when you see a promotion happen or something quite lucky in terms of your reputation and your image. The eclipses have been going between your 5th and 11th houses, right? So the highlighting had been upon your children and your friends, and now it's going to be in your 4th and 10th house, right? So you're going to see big beginnings probably happen in your career, or like we just said, taking a new life direction. Yeah. Now watch out, because Mars has been retrograding in your 12th house, which can be quite frustrating too. Perhaps you've been racking your brain or feeling depressed, right? Or just not being able to connect. Yeah. It might be very uncomfortable being alone, or maybe you just need to be alone and you're agitated by other people. Hopefully you see that stuff start to pick up as we get into January. Okay. Let's move on to Leo rising, my opposites, right? So Jupiter went retrograde back into your 8th house, which oftentimes we can see paying off debts, or sometimes we see a little influx of unexpected money. Inheritances happen, tax refunds, stimulus or whatever, spouse gets a raise. But I'd expect something beneficial to happen there. And then when Jupiter goes into your 9th house, then that picks up. Either maybe you've been thinking about going to school, going back to school, or maybe you're just interested in deeper subjects now, or you've been planning a long trip, right? But the coming year will definitely, and of course the eclipse there will highlight that as well. So again, starting a new spiritual tradition, or renewed deep interests in these sorts of things. Or again, it could be very literal, just going back to school. So the eclipses, right? They were in your 10th and 4th house. So you probably had big beginnings and endings with your career or your home situation, both. And now the focus is going to be on your philosophical, perhaps, situation, your education, yeah. And maybe you'll see big beginnings and endings with siblings. Mars has been retrograde in your 11th house, so quarrels with friends, right? Watch saying those things that are going to cause relationships to end. You know, this stuff that we regret later, okay? You may start feeling a bit better in January. So let's move to Virgo rising, okay? So Jupiter went retrograde back into your 7th house and is now direct of partnerships, marriage, all that sort of fun stuff. So hopefully this is bringing some nice marital relations. You know, maybe you met someone new, maybe you started a new relationship, maybe you start going out together, doing stuff together again. Yeah, this should feel quite nice, you know, depending on other stuff in your chart, which is good because Saturn will go into your 7th house as of March. So when Saturn goes in there, you might wish Jupiter was back. Anyway, of course, the eclipses have been going between your 9th and 3rd house. Oh, excuse me. And they'll be moving towards your 8th and 2nd houses. So Jupiter will go into your 8th house, right? Of debt, death, other people's stuff, yeah. But this is a nice beneficial thing, I see. Well, I prefer to see it that way because it's Jupiter and it's going into Aries. So you could actively be paying off, right, debts, or take on beneficial loans or beneficial debt that builds up a business, right? Finance, budgets, investment, stuff like that. You could see dividends from something. Again, a spouse could get a raise. It could be very literal, okay? Mars has been going retrograde to your 10th house. So I'd be watching out for people talking SHIT, right? And, getting in the way of your advancement, perhaps. Or maybe you just get in the way of your own advancement. Maybe something happens at work where you make a stupid mistake, and that's what you get remembered for a while, you know? Oh, look, it's Ink Pen Girl or whatever. I don't know, I'm making stuff up. But anyway, the eclipses, like I said, I already said the eclipses. So anyway, let's move on to Libra rising. So Jupiter went retrograde back into the 6th house, which, you know, it can be good life changes, lifestyle changes, you know. It could be wanting to feel healthy again, you know. We always talk about losing weight, but it's not about losing weight necessarily. It's about feeling good, you know. So throw away the scale, get nutrition, get sleep. You may also be more inclined to take care of things you were putting off and didn't want to do. So now the eclipses have been oscillating between the 8th and 2nd house. So it probably feels like your finances have been getting hammered. They're going to go now to your the nodes, the eclipses will go to your 1st and 7th houses. So you're going to see something big happen, right? Jupiter's going to go here December 20th into your 7th house, which will be nice. And then the eclipse next year in April will be a 7th house eclipse with Jupiter there. So you could get married, right? Or there could be a marriage or something along those lines. A brand new partnership, a long-term relationship begins. So anyway, Mars has been going retrograde in your 9th house. So, you know, you could watch legal troubles. Maybe there's been an antagonistic court case. Or, if you had been going back to school, it would have felt like a slog or been stifled or something like that. But a big thing during this holiday season is getting into the political and religious debates. Those could cause violence, perhaps. So, I mean, very literally sometimes. So please, let's watch what we say. We don't, unless it's a hill you really need to die on. I have a couple of those. So now, oh, did we mention the eclipses for Libra? The eclipses, we said your finances. I think we did. Yes, 7th house. So anyway, Scorpio rising. So Jupiter went retrograde back into the 5th house. I said Jupiter, I mean Jupiter. I should probably enunciate so you can hear me. Jupiter went retrograde back into the 5th house, right? Your children. Perhaps your children have lucky stuff that happens right now for them. Perhaps you want to have more fun. So between now and December 20th, it's a great time to take time for yourself, leisure stuff, do what you enjoy doing. The 5th house is also sex, so, and then Jupiter will go into your 6th house, where it could be highlighting your health, right? Your daily activities. It could be a great time again to start taking care of the things that you were putting off, right? It's the stuff we don't want to do. The nutrition routine, like I mentioned earlier, learning how to take care of yourself. Yeah. So it's a great time to start making those strides. And then the eclipse will be there. So big beginnings and endings when it comes to the physical and mental health over the following year. Oops. Excuse me. And the eclipses have been going between your 1st and your 7th, right? So it felt like you were being hammered. Yeah, and now you're picking up the pieces and applying them to your physical and mental health, right? So quite important, and Mars has been retrograde in your 8th. So again, like this, similar to the 2nd house, watch spending too much money, right? But here we typically tend to take on credit card debt or take on loans that we shouldn't. Okay, so just be careful, honey. Now let's go to Sagittarius rising. So Jupiter went retrograde. It's the ruler of your rising. Jupiter went retrograde back into your 4th house. So your parents could get good luck. If you'd been trying to sell a home or move, right, or had issues with the landlord or whatever, you could see some positive change with all that, right? Maybe a landlord was standing in your way of moving somewhere. Excuse me. And then when Jupiter goes into the 5th house, yeah, that's going to be highlighting, children, romance, and fun. Perhaps your children will have some good luck that happens, right? But you see, the eclipse will be happening here in your 5th house too in April. So, I mean, I would tell people, if you're trying to get pregnant, watch out. There could be some pregnancies, some unexpected pregnancies for people with the 5th house thing, but it's more about fun too. It's not everything in the 5th house is children, because how do we make children? Fun for me, at least. But so it's going to be highlighting your own sense of being childlike also, and enjoying yourself, right? The eclipses have been going back between your 6th and 12th house, so that'll be a very welcome thing to be having the next eclipse in your 5th of fun. Okay. Mars has been retrograde in your 7th house, quarrels with spouses. Hopefully, you haven't had to get divorced yet, or break up with anyone, and hopefully you get through it and things get better in mid-January. So, and then we go to Capricorn rising. So Pisces, Jupiter, that's your 3rd house. Jupiter entered your 3rd house, and maybe your siblings have good luck, right? Maybe you get a good reputation in your immediate community, right? Jupiter is, we can get good news. I mean, Mercury's news, but this is the 3rd house, we don't conflate signs and houses and everything, but that stuff has sort of happened. We'll see communication projects and things like that now in the 3rd house. We'll see extended family in the 3rd house. So you may hear about siblings or extended family having some good luck, right? You could have your own, again, education stuff. You could be finishing up your own school project or communication project or something along the lines, right? When Jupiter goes into your fourth house, then perhaps your parents could have something lucky that happens, or that's when you get some good luck when it comes to your home situation, either again buying or selling a house, yeah. Again, moving, perhaps, luck with your landlords. So there's also the genealogy thing. You could also get a hair up your butt to go down the genealogy rabbit hole. Okay. Mars has been retrograding in your sixth house. So I hope you haven't been getting sick. Okay. I hope you haven't gotten injured lately. Just, take care of yourself. Similar to Mars going through the first house, and I'd watch out with little injuries, cuts, nicks, scrapes, things like that. So please don't rush around. But when Mars goes direct, you'll likely be more inclined to take care of the things that you've been avoiding, right? And especially health things too, right? Mars finds his joy in the sixth house because Mars likes to get stuff done. So Aquarius rising, this is me, right? So we had Jupiter go back into our second house, which we're like, come on, big money, come on, big money, right? But a lot of times our eyes get bigger than the actual money. So I don't know about you, but some of us have a tendency to spend here, whereas Mars is just like impulsive with it. Jupiter's just overly optimistic. Like, sometimes we can say, oh, here, let me get the bill. Here, let me help you, right? So we just have to be careful because Saturn will go into our second house, in March. And we will have to be frugal, right? So anyway, and then Jupiter goes into Aries, our third house. And so I don't know about you, but I typically think of, the cat slamming on the keyboard, feverish writing, communicating, projects. Yeah. Content creation for those of us who are content creators, right? So siblings could have good luck and all that fun stuff. I prefer to see like the rapid fire, verbal wisdom, perhaps. I have things to say. But then Mars has been retrograde in the fifth house. So for those of us with kids, that's quarrels with our kids. So take it easy on them. We need to remember sometimes that, we're projecting onto our kids, and our kids learn from us too. So, I'm saying that for myself also. It's also a good time, well, especially when he goes direct, you might feeling a bit randy, and you might want to get out and, moisten up. Anyway, so the eclipses have been oscillating between the fourth and 10th house. So big beginnings and endings with our life direction and our living situations. And now it's going to go to, right? I'm sure you've gone through some stuff, right? And then the third house and the ninth house, it's going to deal probably with education things for us. But it could also be about expressing, so for those of us involved in spiritual esoteric work, putting those things into application and perhaps teaching them, perhaps we'll see teaching and learning here on this axis. We'll also see new spiritual directions, new philosophies, new ways of thinking, right? We'll also see long journey. So anyway, but I tend to see the religious and philosophical implications happen more frequently. So Aquarius rising, now we're going to Pisces rising, who we love dearly, don't we? So Pisces rising, Jupiter went retrograde back into your first house. And we always joke about how Jupiter expands, right? So I'm not going to say it expands our physical bodies. I'm trying to be nice. But it does expand our confidence for sure, as I said, with Aries, right? So hopefully you feel like Saturn's touring through your 12th house. which is a rough one. So you've probably been feeling a bit morose and melancholy, right? And so having this Jupiter transit happen, it's a nice little pick-me-up. It's like a little bit of serotonin, in the synapses. So between now and December 20th, hopefully you're feeling a bit better and feeling a bit more happy with yourself and everything, Pisces rising can sometimes be a bit of a, self-sacrificing type. Anyway, so then Jupiter will go into your second house, which I hope brings you some financial goodness. The eclipse will be there starting, April. So they're moving from your third and ninth house. So maybe you're bringing those educational pursuits or philosophical pursuits to a close, or maybe there were big issues with siblings or journeys. But now the focus will be finances, and your finances in particular, building up your own little empire, perhaps. And then Mars has been retrograding in your first house, which is typically quarrels with parents, dad, whatever. Maybe you've been having conflicts with parents, or maybe parents have been having their own conflicts. That's the thing about the Mars retrograde. It's not always us necessarily having the conflicts. It's those people too. Could be our parents quarreling with each other or with other people. It could be a landlord that's holding us back, right, from moving. It could be a possible buyer for a house that's causing trouble, right, or a real estate agent. But you could also just feel just uncomfortable in your own skin and uncomfortable at home sometimes. Once Mercury goes direct, hopefully the situation starts to clear up. Mercury, I meant to say Mars. Stupid. Silly me. I shouldn't say stupid. But anyway, so just watch that. Watch those sorts of conflicts. In the eclipses, right? They're going to be, we just said that, right? They're going from your third and ninth house to your second and eighth. Yeah. So, and then Saturn will be going into your first house, right? So, enjoy this little Jupiter respite that you get, because I can tell you, as someone who's been having Saturn touring her first house, it can be a bit morose and melancholy. It's an existential transit, It's an existential reckoning, if you will. So anyway, I hope some of that was useful and interesting and helpful, perhaps. So, well, anyway, please like and subscribe, right? Please share. I need your help. Please, 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 please. FrankieLynch.com. I do wonderful readings. I have a webinar coming up, actually. If you message me, it's on December the 27th at 3 p.m. Mountain Time to 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to do basic chart delineation and talk about reading natal charts. And please, please, please follow me on Facebook at Frankie Astro. Follow me on TikTok at Frankie Astro. Follow me on Twitter at FrankieLynch777. Hopefully you're following me here on YouTube. And also, please, 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 I do readings and they're wonderful. So I hope you enjoyed this and have a wonderful, wonderful, whatever you're having.